Amy Chua's 2011 book, The Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mum, provoked outrage with its candid portrayal of tough love Asian parenting. Now she's back with a new book, The Triple Package, that picks the ethnic and religious groups getting to the top in modern American society. She says in America, Mormons, Indians and Nigerians, for example, are outperforming America's traditionally successful groups. The book is already causing a storm in America. Her critics call it racist, a claim she rebuts. Amy Chua spoke to 7:30 from New York. Amy Chua, thank you very much for joining 7:30.
Thanks so much for having me.
Your first book, The Tiger Mum, provoked a huge and sometimes poisonous response. Do you still hold to the strict no mercy parenting laws you laid out in that book?
You know, that book was supposed to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but my bottom line answer is yes, the way I raise my kids is the thing I'm most proud of in my life. I wouldn't quite call it merciless. The punchline of that book was that you have to adjust to your individual child's personality, and my second kid was totally different from my first child, and a lot of things had to change. But yes, I'm in favor of high expectations.
In your new book, you've moved from talking about families to whole ethnic and cultural groups. When it comes to getting ahead in the modern world, are you saying that some groups are better than others?
Absolutely not. And this is the biggest source of misunderstanding. This book is ultimately about individuals. It's about the underlying traits that generate drive and, trigger motivation. We all want to know, how can we inspire our children? How do we get them to want to strive? Or at least that's one question. And so we look at these traits, and one way to get at these traits is by looking at the groups that at this particular point in time are doing disproportionately well.
Just take us through the formula that you've come up with to explain that success.
What we found was good news, that what is propelling these groups and individuals to success is nothing innate or biological. It's nothing sort of hardwired in the culture. Instead, it comes down to three simple qualities that are available to anyone of any background. And we're calling these the triple package. The first is a sense of exceptionality, that you're special in some way. The second quality, which we call a superiority complex, but it's when that is coupled with the second quality, which is a sense of insecurity. And this is a feeling that you haven't quite done enough yet, that you need to still prove yourself. And the third element is impulse control. That's self-discipline, basically, and the ability to persevere and resist temptation.
Well, let's talk about the top performers according to your formula. Who are they?
Well, if you just look at straight census data, and we're very clear that there are many ways of measuring success. It's not just material success, but it's very hard to measure success in other ways. So we look first at these very conventional material measures, educational attainment, income, and at the very top, at least in the United States, Indian Americans are extremely outperforming. Their household median income is almost twice the national average. Jewish Americans are extremely successful, not just monetarily, but they are very dominant with Nobel Prizes, Tony Prizes, Academy Awards. Chinese Americans, Iranian Americans, and Lebanese Americans are other groups that are doing extremely well in terms of income and education. And then most interestingly, a non-ethnic group, the Mormons, are a fascinating case. They are a little bit different. What's very interesting about them is it's the speed of their ascendance. 30 years ago, there was barely, you couldn't find a Mormon on Wall Street or in D.C. Today, they are running some of the most recognizable names in corporate America and very, very successful in Washington.
So what does this tell us about white Anglo-Saxon Protestants who used to hold the power in the US? What do you say are the reasons for their decline?
Now, this is a great question because I want to emphasize that at the end of the day, this book is about individuals. It's not about groups, right? There are countless individuals from the white elite or Mexican Americans that have every one of these three qualities. President Obama is a good example. Justice Sotomayor, who's Puerto Rican, on our Supreme Court is another example. And there are many examples from the former WASP elite that fit it too. But the point of the book is that success is very generational. It ebbs and flows. And once you get to a certain level of a success, this is in a group, in a family, it's natural to feel less insecurity. You know, the thing about immigrants is it's almost by definition to be insecure. You're in a new country, you are not socially accepted, you don't know if you can make it, you don't know if you can feed your children. And that's partly why immigrants statistically tend to save more, they tend to impose higher discipline and expectation on their children, and that's part of actually what makes many of them rise at a disproportionate rate.
Australia, like America, has been very big in recent years on building self-esteem in children, the opposite of what you call impulse control. Does that mean that we're doomed to face a similar decline if we continue down the same road?
I don't know. There are many reasons for decline, but you are right. We are a critic of the self-esteem movement. There are studies that we talk about at length in our book that show that self-esteem, it's not that it just doesn't, it actually doesn't make people feel that much better about themselves. They, you know, a lot of people who are just told you are fine however you are, you don't need to strive, actually end up with a lot of anxiety and depression. If I just knew that I could say to my children, you are perfect as you are, and that would make them happier and lead happier lives, I would do it in a second. But the evidence suggests the contrary.
Amy Chua, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us. It certainly is an interesting and provocative read.
Thank you so much.